Let's do that first. So if you want, we can just record it instead of going live. What's your view?
I don't mind.
Sure.
Whatever's easiest, easier for you, mate. Like you said, if you can edit and play about with it, then go for it.
All right, give me 3, 2, 1. Cool. Give it a chance to sync. Okay, good evening and welcome back to the Unbroken channel for episode 3 of our podcast, Down But Not Out. Tonight we have joining me as a co-host, Angela Westbrook. Hello, Angela.
Hiya.
And a man who I can only describe as a true inspiration to me, and that is, he's looking around, but it is you, Stumpy. Okay, we've got Stacey, Stumpy, Creswell. Evening.
Namaste.
So,
Greetings, guys.
True inspiration and true comedian as well.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell some of the stories.
One-
That can wait for a minute or two.
some stories good for the podcast, some we will not put into it.
I might not be invited back to co-host if I tell some of Stumpy's stories.
Yeah. But yeah, Stumpy kept us happy many a times while on our travels with his sense of humour. So just to get into it, Stumpy, do you want to just give us a quick background about your early life in the forces, if you don't mind, and what led to your medical discharge, if you're happy to talk about it?
Yep, I can. Well, yeah, my name is Stacey Creswell. I'm 51-year-old. From Newcastle upon Tyne originally. I now live down in a little market town in Wiltshire on the edge of Salisbury Plain called Devizes. Not many people have heard of it. When you say you're 25 minutes from Stonehenge, they know where you are roughly. So that's it. I joined the army in 1988 when I was 16 years old. So I joined as a boy soldier. I'd done a year's basic training with the Junior Leaders Regiment Royal Artillery, Bramcote in Nuneaton. From there, I'd done lots of interesting things. I was part of the PT display troop, which meant I got to jump through fiery hoops and do lots of somersaults and crazy things like that, which culminated in 1989 with us being part of the Edinburgh Military Tattoo, which was nice. It was televised, so that was fun. I then joined my unit in about September 1989, and as soon as I walked through the gates, they said first thing they said was, right, don't get too comfortable here because we're off to Northern Ireland in January. I thought, right, fantastic, which I already knew anyway. We'd already been told that we were going, so that didn't come as a big surprise. So January came and off we trotted down to South Armagh for 7.5 months. Right down on the borders. Yeah, it was obviously it's normally a 6 months tour, but we'd done 7.5 because it was a 300-year anniversary of the Orange Order, or something ridiculous like that. So instead of the new regiment coming in cold, as to speak, they started sending their guys over slightly earlier, so it was broken down, so we kind of bled them in and we went out patrolling with those so they could get used to the area as well, and not having to deal with the pressures of the Orange Marches as well. So we eventually came back in about the July, August, I think the last lot of guys left. Well, 3 months into the tour, I was 18 by this point, I started noticing what felt like severe cramps and splints down the back of my right leg. I went and seen the medic, And as medics do, when you go and report problems with your legs, we give you 2 bits of advice. So, right, you've got shin splints or cramps, so loosen your laces and take some brufen. So,
Standard military response.
Standard military procedure. And as you know, Ange, brufen fixes anything from a headache to a broken leg. So, it didn't work. So I was walking, patrolling. Obviously, I'm slogging up and down South Armagh with the best part of 80 to 100 pound on me back in weight, an LSW rifle. So I had a big sniper scope on it, and so I was tail end Charlie. So I was struggling to walk. So when you were anything after sort of 30, 40 yards, leg would just completely seize up, which wasn't good when you were out for sort of anything from 8 hours to 2 or 3 days.
Wow.
So they eventually got me up to the medical centre in Armagh Barracks. It was drum mad. And they said, right, it's certainly not shin splints because you haven't got a pulse in your foot. So said, okay. So he says, I think it's claudication or a condition known as popliteal artery entrapment syndrome. Now, what that is, it happens with smokers and diabetics quite a lot in the respect that when they get a fatty build-up in their arteries and things like that, it blocks their artery. So blood supply can't get through. Now, what had happened with me was because of the amount of walking I was doing, the amount of weight that I was carrying, the leg muscles in my lower leg and my leg in general were growing faster than my normal body rate. So the muscles in my leg had obviously grown at a faster pace than my normal body pace, and they completely squashed 5 centimeters of my artery behind my kneecap.
My goodness.
Kneecap. So I was taken off frontline duties and spent the rest of the tour in the ops room, which obviously stopped the patrolling and anything like that. So that kind of made it a little bit more comfortable. I got back to the UK. I was then sent down to Woolwich Hospital, which was open at the time, where I had an artery bypass. He left a big 18-inch scar down the back of my leg where he'd done the bypass, and it didn't work. So I then had another bypass operation. No, sorry, it wasn't a bypass, it was an angioplasty, where they stick a catheter down your main artery with a balloon on the end, and you expand it, and it expands the artery.
Yeah.
So that worked, kind of worked, but I was never the same again after that. I'd struggle with fitness. I'd struggle with the BFT. For those of you who are from an earlier generation, I don't know if you know what that'll be, but it was the basic fitness test, which was 1.5 mile squatted in 15 minutes, and then 1.5 mile of your own accord in less than 10.5 minutes. And obviously I'd struggle with combat fitness test as well, which was the 8-mile force march. So it was never ever right. We were over in Germany by this point, and I got posted back to Larkhill in Wiltshire, and I decided at the age of 25, look, I'm not going anywhere. I'm struggling fitness wise. I'm gonna come out of the army and start again. I was only 25, so I thought, why not start nice and early? So I've got plenty of time ahead of me. Unfortunately, it didn't work like that. There was lots of things going on in my head, which led to lots of drinking, eating crap food, lots of nightmares, depression, stuff like that, which was eventually in about 2015 diagnosed as complex post-traumatic stress disorder. Diagnosed through combat stress, and So that was the answer to that. Again, so the leg was never right. 2018, the artery collapsed again in exactly the same place when I was out walking the dog. So I went down to Southmead Hospital after a few consultations. I had another bypass on it, but when the surgeon done the bypass operation, he sliced through a main nerve on the inside of my leg, and he killed all the feeling on the inside of the leg. And now had the original injury was still there. He could still feel it, even though he bypassed it because he hadn't dealt with the collapsed artery. So I was still getting cold feet, still getting problems walking, and now I could hit my leg with a golf club or a hammer and I couldn't feel it. So I was playing golf with a couple of friends of mine from a couple of golfing charities.
Badly if you're hitting your leg, but go on.
Say again, sorry?
I said playing golf badly if you're hitting your leg with it.
Well, yeah, but when you get dogs walking into you, or you walk into something and you don't realise,
you don't even feel it. I don't know how you're playing golf. You know, when you've got no feeling.
Yeah.
You know, that must have been horrific.
Oh, it was. I mean, yeah. I mean, it wasn't good. You know, I haven't told a lot of people this, but because of there's a few people know. I couldn't cope with the pain with it for a long time, and I actually took 2 overdoses because I'd had enough of it. So the wife found me sort of lying on the bed, foaming out one day, and I woke up to a room full of paramedics and trying to stick tubes in me and stuff like that, and wasn't good. But once we kind of got to the bottom of it, it realised what it was. You know what I mean? So that was treated to a certain extent, but I mean it's managed now. It's managed now. So when I was playing golf, I played with a lot of amputees, and a lot of them had said to me, "said Have you ever spoke to Alex Crick in Salisbury Hospital?" Because I'd already came to the decision that I wanted the leg taken off. So I said, "No, never heard of him. Who's Alex Crick?" I said, "No, she's a plastic surgeon in Salisbury Hospital who runs a veterans war clinic. Deals primarily with amputees from Iraq initially and Afghan, and a lot of obviously IEDs and explosions. But she does also deal with other medical conditions that lead to problems with your leg." So I sent her an email. This must have been about beginning of 2020. Big 4-page email just explaining the whole situation. And she phoned me back 9:30 on a Monday evening, and after she introduced herself, the first words that came out of her mouth were, "Well, you've been through the shit with this, haven't you?" I said, "Have I?" "Yep." She's getting to see me, so I think it was on the Thursday, about 4 days later, I went down and seen her. Again, explained the whole situation, and she says, "So, put in the letter what you want me to do." She says, "Obviously, I need you to tell me." I said, "Well, I want you to take it off. I want you to amputate it." Now, I have 2 friends who I know that she amputated on, again, for similar reasons to me, for medical reasons. And I'd heard nothing but good things about this woman. And she is an incredible woman. She's one of these who she will do what you ask.
Yeah.
I mean,
so she brought the trust before you even started.
Absolutely.
When you put something like that in someone's hands, you really want that.
Yeah, absolutely. So every time I went to see her, even that first meeting, there was always also a rep from the Defence Medical Welfare Service, a guy called Matty Long, who's voluntarily based in Salisbury Hospital. He goes around finding veterans and making sure they're all looked after. There was somebody there from Help the Heroes, and there was also somebody there from Blesma, which is obviously the charity for limbless veterans. And they were incredible. The whole team was incredible. So the whole process from start to finish from meeting her took about 15 months. And on the 18th of November 2021, I went under the knife and I had an above knee amputation of my right leg.
Which is, it's incredibly
16.
brave decision to take by yourself. And if I can just go back as well to what you told us about a suicide attempt, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, I'm glad you got through that, because the world would be a worse place without you, mate.
Oh, thank you, mate.
Absolutely.
Thank you, mate.
But with the amputation, were you straight into rehab with that? How did it feel after you'd had it done initially?
The biggest concern that I had about the amputation was how I would react the first time I seen the stump, no leg there. Okay, that was the biggest problem. So what I'd done for months, I try to kind of desensitize it. I'd sit in the dark, or I'd hide my right leg and just take it out of the equation. So if I was sat reading, if I was sat downstairs watching TV, I'd put a blanket over it. I try not to move it and just purely concentrate on the left leg. So it would kind of just totally ignore the fact that the right leg was there. And this was the biggest problem that I had, was how I would react. Now, I'd spoke to guys who'd obviously lost limbs from IEDs and things like that. And I'd also spoke to the guys who'd lost them for medical reasons. And they both said the same thing, said, because you made this decision consciously, you're ready for it. You mean, it's when you get hit by an IED, you're walking along, and the next thing you do, you wake up in a field hospital, you open your eyes and you look down, your legs have gone. That's more traumatic to deal with than actually, making the decision yourself, which I totally agree with. Those guys, they wake up, I think, Jesus Christ, they've got enough to deal with, and they say, oh, I'll be walking. Next thing you know, they've got no bloody legs. So they've got all of that to process, as well as the whole experience and the PTSD and everything that goes around with it. So in the end, I was fine. The surgeon, she said to me, she says, it's your choice. I will be there with you every second every second of the journey that you're on. You can take a minute, you can take an hour, a day, a week. It's entirely up to you when you look at your stump. You're under no pressure to do it whatsoever. So I went under the knife, 4.5, 5 hours into surgery, and woke up, and true to her word, the first person that I saw was the surgeon. She sat by my side. She said, "Yep, all well, all good. How do you feel?" I feel absolutely fantastic. Obviously, I'm off my face on anything. And I just sat up about right, ripped the blankets off, looked at it, and I just pissed myself laughing. And I just couldn't stop laughing. And I was in hospital for 2 weeks, and all I'd done was laugh, because the relief of it, the pain was gone. There was nothing there, and it was just such a relief to not have that pain. It was the best feeling in the world, and it was the best decision I ever made in my life. I've made lots of crazy decisions, and I've done lots of crazy things in my life, but this was truly the best decision ever made in my life.
Do you know, you're not the first that I've heard say that. JJ said that about his, the guy we had on last week at the end. But I want to ask something about, because I know that you do struggle with phantom pain, and I want to tell you about a conversation that I had. So when we were out in Vegas, we were at the bar one night, and there was myself, and do you remember the big, tall army lad, Adam?
Yeah.
And then JJ, and we were sitting talking, and Adam really struggled with phantom pain.
Yeah.
And we were sat up with him until quite the early hours because he just doesn't like going to bed. It scares him because when he gets down, he lays down, the pain's phenomenal.
Yeah.
On the limb that's not there. Okay. So we stay up late with him, and then we sort him out, and JJ and I were chatting afterwards, and it was like, from what I can gather, there is different types of surgery, and the way that the muscles and the nerves are rooted after and around the stump will either mitigate or not this huge issue for many amputees, which is phantom pain.
Yeah.
Now, Adam's was a major issue. I know JJ's is less of an issue because they've done quite a good job of rerouting, but I know that he still gets, an itchy, or scratch one part of his stomach. That's itching my ankle, that's stitching my foot, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But Adam's was horrific, the phantom pain that he got, and I know that you suffer with that sometimes.
Yeah, it's a lot of it. Again, comes down to the amount of damage and trauma from the original injury.
Right.
A lot of it also comes down to where the scarring is. Because obviously you've still got signals coming from your brain trying to get down to your foot. So they think that your foot's still there. So they then get to the end of your stump and they think, oh, hello, what's going on here? You know what I mean? So they don't know where it's going, so they're getting confused. So obviously it's trying to tell you something's not right. Then it goes back and saying, right, I can't get the signals down to my foot. But your foot, you can still feel that your foot's there. Or you get an itchy knee or something like that. Now, I've been very lucky now. I think because of where my scar is, the scar is actually behind at the back of my stump. It's not actually on the bottom. So if you're busy and you're doing something and your brain's occupied, it's a non-issue. It's like you said, well, it's when you stop. It's when your brain has time to think and them signals are going down, and that's when the issue occurs. There are different coping mechanisms what people use. They do work for some people. They don't work for other people. One of the techniques that people use is a technique called the mirror image.
Yeah.
So what they do is they'll get a mirror and they'll put it sort of between the groin so that it's pointing to the good leg.
You're getting a reflection of the good leg, at least.
A reflection.
The missing leg is still there, and that psychosomatically eases the issue. It's fascinating, isn't it?
So if you look in the mirror, and if you've got, say, an itchy calf muscle, and you're looking at the reflection in the mirror, and you scratch your good leg, but you don't take any notice of it, but you're looking at the reflection, your brain's telling you that you're scratching the calf on the invisible limb.
Yeah.
So it's I had it really, really bad last night. Ironically, it's the first time.
Well, I saw that on your Facebook.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I do know what it was. I think it was because when I was in bed yesterday morning, and the dogs came hurtling into the bedroom. They come in most mornings, but both of them, for some reason, when they came up, they didn't do it on purpose. They both, as they were coming up, the weight of the dogs straight onto my stump, so that kind of fired it up all day. And then by the time I'd sort of stopped, like I said, the pain was bad last night. Lot of sort of nerve blockers, Lyrica, gabapentin. I mean, there's different things like that which do work, but like I said, a lot of people don't like taking pills. So there's kind of hemp creams out there which work. But the majority of what I find is just massage. So really kind of deep massage into the area where you can feel, as low as you can get down to it, and where you just really get your fingers in and really give it a good rub without being too uncomfortable and putting yourself in too much pain. But it's about keeping your brain occupied. That's the main thing. And
well, this is the interesting thing, is that you're saying, like, it's when you slow down and when you stop. And from conversations with other amputees, and you can corroborate this, if you've had an amputation above the knee, I mean, let's talk about me and Mick, right? All right, Mick's shoulder's knackered and my right ankle's knackered, but we've got 2 legs, we've got 2 feet, and we've got about on our 2 legs, and we don't take any notice of it, right? If you've had an amputation below the knee, it's probably about 50% more expenditure of energy just to walk about in the same way. And if you've had an amputation above the knee, this is according to JJ, it could be wrong, but you are probably expending about 75% more energy than just walking about. So you've got this catch-22 situation, whereas if you sit still, you're going to get your phantom pain. In order to be moving about, you're using almost twice the energy. And even the fittest people are going to end up shredded. And it must be exhausting. And I know from particularly, our trip away, and when we went on that day out at the end, and you really struggle sometimes, not just with the energy expended, but the comfort of having the stump in the silicone, in the prosthetic, being on it. It swells, it shrinks, it swells, you might get stuff, even a little bit of irritant, get caught in it, and then you're in bother, aren't you? So you're fighting battles every day just to be an athlete in terms of energy expenditure and discomfort, separate to the phantom pain and any other medical issues. And it's just tough, isn't it? And you're saying that as Mick said, it wouldn't be the same without you, mate. But you've already, prior to this amputation, had significant mental well-being issues, taken 2 attempts on your own life. You tell us you're now managing your PTSD, and I'd like to come back to that. But then you've got all this on top of it now. So to be sitting there talking to us and having gone to Vegas and done what you did and just be who you are, you know what I mean? You're a bloody legend.
Thank you, darling.
And can I ask a bit of a light-hearted question? So, have you always had this sense of humour, or has this come later? Because
I've always had a wickedly dark sense of humour.
Okay.
Northeast thing, that is.
Yeah. So when you had your amputation, did you ask for your leg in a jar?
No. What I did ask for, I didn't ask for it in a jar, but what I did ask for is, when women have babies, and you always see that first shot when the babies are first born, and within seconds you're up cuddling them, and they're in a white linen. Yeah, absolutely. And they're sat looking at them. But what I said to the surgeon was, I said, "Can I ask a favour?" And Bridget was in with me, and she knew I was going to say it. She said, "Don't you bloody dare be the wife." And I said, "Well, I've got to ask." And now the surgeon went, "Right, I'm not going to like this." I says, "Don't judge yet." I said, women, when they have the babies and they get this lovely photo of them with the baby and they're looking all cozy. She went, "Yes." I said, "Well, when you've took my leg off," I said, "can you wrap it up in a white sheet for me? My foot and my toes."
Baby on the end of
with my foot and my toes sort of resting on my shoulder, with my head on it, pointing at it, so that my toes are sort of sat on my shoulder. With looks like I'm cuddling it.
Did they say no?
She just went, Stacey, she says, it's not very ethical from an NHS point of view and from my point of view. And I said to her, I said, oh, fuck ethics. I said, you can use my phone. I said, I won't tell anybody if you won't. And she says, no, darling. She said, you're not having a photo. And I said to her, I said, you're just boring.
The other time when you took your leg off and we were on that visit, and I was a bit worried about you because you'd been in that auditorium, like that, like cinema room for ages.
Yeah.
Remember me coming in to check on you, and you're with Beth, and I come over with my, my Ange Carey face and sound, and I went, oh mate, how you doing? And you were like, oh, and I went, you're a bit swollen, and I'm talking about your stump. And quick as anything, typical you, and I'm always swollen for you, Ange. Again, one of my finest Stacey moments.
Yeah,
I won't come out with any more, but you are very
So moving on to that sort of Las Vegas experience, then.
Yeah.
What did that mean to you to get out there and compete?
It was life changing. I mean, obviously, we know the story. We'd all done the trials for the Invictus, and we all knew that sometime in February we were going to be getting telephone calls to say whether or not we'd been selected for the Invictus Games. So when I got the phone call on the 8th of February, just to say, and it was little Hannah, said, unfortunately, you haven't been selected for the Invictus Games this year. And I said, well, to be honest, I wasn't expecting to. I wasn't in a particularly good place when I'd done them. So, but it was just nice to obviously get out and meet a few people and catch up with some old faces. So I was just about to hang the phone up. She says, hang on. She says, however, you have been selected to represent the United Kingdom at the US Air Force trials at Nellis Air Force Base in Las Vegas for 2 weeks. And I went, eh? And she says, yeah, we're flying out on the 9th. We're meeting up on the 19th of February. And not even thinking about it, I'd said to her, I said, oh, well, that gives me just over a year to do some training then. I think we all said the same thing. And she says, no, Stacey, we're going in 11 days. And
it was 11 days, wasn't it? It was fast out.
Yeah. And can you remember what I said every single day, even when we got to Las Vegas? You don't remember what I was saying to all the staff? Said, this is a wind-up, this.
Yeah.
Because I just thought it was just a complete wind-up. I was even when we were on the plane and we were up in the air, I was expecting the plane to turn round and go back to Heathrow and say, ha, right, got you, now bugger off.
It was pretty surreal. We said this last week, didn't we? One hell of a booby prize.
Yeah, exactly. And the amount of people who I've spoke to, and I know everybody who went to Vegas has spoke to people who have got on the Invictus team, and I think they feel that they've kind of they've been dealt the rubbish hand here. Because he said
we made such a good time out of it, didn't we?
Yeah, I mean, what we had out there from the second that we met at Uxbridge University, there was something special there between all 31 of us and the staff. I've been in lots of situations where you go on courses or whatever, and you meet lots of different people, and you say, "Oh, we'll all stay in touch," and things like that. And it doesn't happen. I mean, for whatever reason, somebody upsets somebody, and that's it. The whole thing kind of vanishes into the ether. But the love and the support that we found in each other, I've never experienced anything like it, and I know we're all still in touch today. There's one or two who've kind of gone off the radar a little bit, but I know there's a few of us who are kind of still in touch with them.
But interestingly, when you talk about, other scenarios where you've got together and there's maybe been a bit of friction and people have gone their separate ways, we as a group, we've had our friction. And let's not forget that there's as much mental well-being difficulty as there is physical.
Absolutely.
For a lot of people, and they have both.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people, a lot more triggers than your average Joe public, but yet we've still managed to, when we have amongst ourselves as a group flare up, resolve and repair and move forward. And that's fundamental. That's proper. When you talk about, as you guys all know, I'm a therapist, building a therapeutic relationship. It applies with any relationship.
Yeah.
How you deal with the difficult bits and resolve and repair and communicate and authentically come through and out the other side is what brings that bond even stronger.
Yeah.
And that's where I kind of want to come back to you and your complex PTSD. When you said earlier, I manage it now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell me.
Well, the way I manage it is obviously accepting it is the first thing. It was owning it, I suppose. My decision to have it off, so there's never ever been a day where I've regretted having it amputated. I can't regret it. It was my choice, so I can't get upset about it.
But didn't you have those issues before you made that choice?
Yeah, but that was down to the pain, though, wasn't it?
Yeah. That was purely down to the pain.
Which I
So
feel
is the
you there.
Yeah, is the management of the PTSD? You think I'd be able to say it as a bloody therapist? Is part of the management of it chopping it off, and now dealing with the other things that because let's be honest, complex PTSD is called complex because it isn't just about one trauma; it's about a number of things.
Yeah. Well, ironically, one of my continuing nightmares that I had. Now, I was never ever involved in anything in Northern Ireland. Never had any contacts. There was no bombings. Never seen anything untoward. Okay, very quiet tour. But my continuing dreams, / nightmares that I have, is I can be having a nice happy dream. I'll turn around and I'm back in full kit, and I'm in uniform, and I'm back on the streets of Northern Ireland. Bizarre. Days after the amputation, that nightmare stopped.
Wow.
Because in your mind, there was that link between patrolling and pain.
Yep. Yeah.
And do you know what, Mick? I get why you say in your mind, but it actually isn't in your mind. It's in your nervous system. It's in your autonomic nervous system. It's trapped in your body. This is the Bessel van der Kolk body holds the score stuff about trauma. And that's why it went.
Yeah.
Because that bit of your nervous system was removed.
Yeah.
So that's what I call with clients, that bottom-up feeling didn't have a bottom to come from anymore. So you didn't have it anymore.
But going back to sort of the original point, with regards to the energy and things like that, yeah, you're absolutely right, Ange. An above knee amputee uses about between 150 and 180% more energy walking than a two-legged freak, as I've started calling you guys, which is no.
The freakishness is nothing to do with having two legs, but yeah. Yeah,
and again, like you said, you're seeing the issues that I had when you've got your prosthetic on for 3, 4, 5. I mean, I had it on sort of 12, 13, 14 hours a day. You take it off, it's extremely difficult to get it back on when your stump is swollen.
Yeah.
So it's again, management wise, when I'm sat at home, if I'm not doing anything, then it's just about rest and keeping the stump down to a reasonable size. Diet becomes important because obviously if you're putting weight on, then you're going to put weight on everywhere. Sorry,
probably quite vital.
Yeah. But the main thing is about kind of core stability. You know what I mean? Around your sort of stomach, hips, and groin area. And your body adapts very, very quickly. I mean, 4 months after I had the amputation, I was back out on the golf course.
What did you play off?
19.
No.
So I was, before I had the amputation, playing off 23. I dropped 4 shots in 2 months when I had the amputation.
Wow.
Now,
because I've slowed everything down. Because I've got to hit a golf ball slightly different, because my prosthetic goes right up into my groin. I can't twist my hips, so I have to stand slightly different. I mean, all my distances are all still there. It's just a different way of hitting them, of hitting the ball. So yes, I dropped 4 shots in the first 2 months. So yeah, I mean, I can still drive a ball 250 yards in a straight line.
you've got way more patience than me, mate, because I tried to take up golf, and after half a round, I gave up golf.
Well, yeah, it's not for everybody. And believe me, I worked in a golf club when I first came out of the army, and I despised it. I despised golf. I despised golf clubhouses, and I despised the people. But it was when I was in combat stress on one of the sort of the mental health programs, anger management, and something else it was called. Somebody in their infinite wisdom in Leatherhead said, you fancy coming down the golf range to hit some golf balls? It's great for anger management. And I said, no, I don't. I hate the game. So went down there anyway. Spent an hour down there, and an hour and a half later I rang the wife up, and she says, what have you just bought for £170 on eBay?
That'll be my clubs then, love.
Yeah, I went, shut at golf clubs.
There's no going back at that point. So I used to serve at RAF Buchan, and we used to play on the links courses up there, and I was up there for a couple of years, and I got down to 23. I played off 23 on the links courses, but then I didn't play for years. But I went out once, 6 months pregnant. That's obviously the son.
Yeah.
On a golf day in Lincoln with 23 squadron when I was on the AWACS. And I beat most of the blokes with a 6-month bump in the way. So that was quite like, it's quite hard to play. You've got to kind of just step back a little bit more, get the baby out of the way. But it is very addictive.
Yeah, it's and again, that's my main go-to with regards to my mental health, because it's
zoned in.
It covers all aspects of everything, really. It takes your focus away from everything that you're thinking about, because you've got to put 100% concentration into hitting that little white golf ball, hitting it straight, club selection, the whole lot. And on top of that, you're out in the fresh air. So you're getting fresh air in, you're getting sunlight if it is sunny. You're getting sunshine in your face. It's making you feel good. It's getting the endorphins going, and it's fantastic. I haven't played out on a course I haven't played around since September, because I was finding out I was starting to struggle a little bit on this prosthetic, because it's my first one. So I'm in the process now of being fitted for my new leg, and I've been on the range a few times, and I just can't wait to get back out on there, so to start hitting the balls again.
Which I refer to as the Terminator leg.
The Terminator leg, yeah, the super duper
robotic.
Well, that's what I love at the moment. I get lots of young kids, and as soon as they see it, you get one of two reactions. They just stand and stare, and the parents sort of pull them away and say, don't stare. And I make a point of kind of saying, no, let him ask questions.
Let him ask.
It's intrigue.
Let him ask questions. Yeah, but you've seen the tattoo on the back of the other leg, which is basically which is a cyborg leg. Now, that's what the new prosthetic leg will look like. So it'll look exactly the same. So I've had kids come up to me when I've been shopping in Asda with a wife, and they'll just pull my arm and they'll say, "Excuse me, are you a robot?" Yeah. So they love it. You know what I mean? I don't like I wouldn't say I don't like parents who pull their children away. You know what I mean? It's about education, and kids are kids. You know, they're inquisitive, and you've got to let them ask questions. And like you said, I mean, I've got a 10-month-old granddaughter now, and even when I walk in now, you know what I mean, I walk in and you can see the look on her face, and she's sitting there. You can see she's thinking, right, what's different with Grandad? Why's he got that and everybody else? But when she's sitting on my knee, she's sat there and she's playing with it and she's really slapping it and she's doing all sorts with it. And yeah, I mean, we're going to Greece in a couple of weeks' time, so I'm looking forward to getting in the pool with her, which is the main thing. You know what I mean? So it's not holding me back. It's not.
There's a word you used earlier, and it applies to literally everything. And it's something that we as humans struggle with. And it's just acceptance.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
It's acceptance that we're human, that we make mistakes, that we have emotions, that we feel sad, that you know, that things go wrong, that Grandad's got a stump or you know, whatever. But people struggle to put things down and let things go. You can't just be present in the moment and go with it. If a little kid comes up to you and wants to ask about your stump, there's nothing wrong with that. The parents don't need to panic, you know.
No,
I've got an additional needs 7-year-old, and my God, if I were the type of person to get embarrassed, she would be extremely embarrassing with what she goes to strangers and says. I don't get embarrassed. She's adorable. She's innocent. She's accepting that the world's different, and she asks about it, and I celebrate that. And if they've got an issue with it, well, maybe they need to learn to accept. And that's everything, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
I
was down in Bournemouth this weekend with a wife, on a Freemasons weekend, and we got up in the morning, and again, same thing. Before we had breakfast, we went for a little 30-minute stroll just along the beachfront, and there was a couple sat on the bench waiting for the coffee shop to open by the arcade, and she was a big girl, and as we sort of walked past, she said to me, she says, "Oh, do you mind me asking what happened?" I said, I don't mind at all. So I told her and explained to her, and she says to me, she says, "Oh, I can't do any running." And I said, "What do you mean you can't do any? What's the matter with you?" She said, "Oh, nothing. I'm just too fat." And obviously that was me then. You know, I tried my hardest. I was very, very polite. I says to her,
Creswell, right,
yeah. Well, I mean, I was straightforward. I was blunt. You know, I wasn't rude. But I said to her, I said, "Have you got any problems with your knees?" She says, "No." I said, "Ankles?" She said, "No." I said, "Hips?" She said, "No." I said, "Well, you can run then." I said, "Don't make excuses." I said, "You can do anything." I said, "I was away last week." I said, "I've been bloody rock climbing 40, 50 feet on indoor climbing walls." I said, "I've been abseiling." I said, "Don't tell me that you can't do anything." And there was a woman, ironically, ran past behind us, and she was really skinny. Obviously, older gear, you know what I mean, typical professional bloody runner. And I says to this woman, I said, "Look at her there." And she says, "Yeah, oh yeah." Well, I says, "Well, put it this way." I says, "If I see overweight people running, I've got more respect for them than I have for that."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because people are trying to make a difference in their lives.
Yeah.
I said, if you can't run, I said, walk fast. You know what I mean? I said, it'll save your knees, but it's about getting out and doing exercise. And then the whole thing was, then she came out with, "Oh, well, I haven't been able to do anything since my dad died." So there's obviously
There's
something
always
there.
a reason behind it.
There's always a
There's
reason.
like a
Yeah.
background performance.
Yeah. And that's
that's
why
with a lot of people. Mick, how
Yeah.
are we doing for time, by the way?
It's okay. I'm just sending James a message. He's struggling to get in, so we'll probably have to record with James, reschedule for another day, and maybe just use something that's not Microsoft Teams. We're not doing too bad for time. We're approaching 55 minutes, which is good because it's been effortless. But where I want to go to quickly is, you spoke about how much extra energy you expend when walking with a prosthetic, and you've decided that with that extra energy that you need to walk, that you are going to do the Marathon De Sable. Now, those watching, listening, wherever you are, if you haven't heard of that, okay, it's basically a crazy man's ultra marathon across the desert. Why? That's the only question I've got. Why did you decide to do that?
Livingston was asked why he wanted to climb Mount Everest, and the answer he gave was because it's there, because I can.
Yeah.
Fair.
I missed out on doing so much because of my leg when I was in the army. I missed out on doing things like P Company, on doing commando courses, anything like that. I couldn't do it. You know what I mean? So I met up with a representative from Walking with the Wounded, who's my local area rep, and I was telling him about looking for me next challenge. When we got back from Vegas, and he says, "Do you like walking?" I says, "Yeah, I like walking." He says, "You know what the Marathon De Sable is?" I said, "No." He says, "Okay." He said, "It's a 251-kilometer ultra marathon, 7 days, self-sufficient, across the Sahara Desert in Morocco. Do you fancy doing it?" And without even blinking, I went, "Yeah, I'll do it." And he just looked at me as if to say, "All right, okay, what have I unleashed here?" And he says, it's classed as the hardest ultra marathon on the planet, and the reason being is it's not as simple as doing 26 miles a day over 7 days. The shortest stage on it is 7 kilometers. Obviously, you're up and down the sand dunes as well. You do the stages of the 26 miles, but the longest part of it is a 90-kilometer, 90 kilometer yomp.
So that's basically 2 marathons back to back if you want to do the maths on that. So you
probably closer to 3.
Yeah, it's a long way.
Yeah, it's basically 18, 19, 20 hours of walking. But the guy who I've been talking to from Walking with the Wounded is a double amputee, and he's done it twice. So again, my philosophy, well, he's got no legs, I've got one, I can do it
in half the time.
Not necessarily half the time. But half the blisters.
Valid.
And it's funny because we had this conversation off the live earlier about socks. I recommended some cracking socks, to which you pointed out, well, they'll last you double the length of time because you only need one at a time.
Yeah.
Because that's the sort of man you are. Now, obviously, to do that marathon comes with some fundraising. We're Walking for the Wounded. So I've just dropped that link into the live now. Okay, if you go and check out that page, This link will also be in the description of this episode on YouTube, and I'll put it in the description on all other outlets, so Spotify, Amazon, it'll all be on there.
I appreciate that.
It is very...
Before the ultra marathon, I'm doing a warm up for it. I'm doing 100 kilometers in November.
Okay.
So I'm doing the 100 kilometers in November, and then I'm doing the MDS, the 251 kilometers in April.
Cool. Well,
so
I think we've got to get you back on, certainly after that 100 kilometer trek.
Yeah.
And 100% after, well, all of it, because we're going to need pictures, we're going to need videos. You're going to be keeping a diary while you're on there, like a video diary.
If I'm still alive, it might the diary might consist of got here, lots of sand,
legs swell up.
Stump's very swollen, and then you might just get a message from the wife saying, "Yeah, come to his funeral. The pillock's dead." Yeah, but the only rule of it, I mean, obviously you get your ultra athletes who do these things, and they do it in sort of 36 hours. I mean, they're absolute psychopaths. I mean, we're doing it as a group with Walking with the Wounded. So
take your time, enjoy it. Do not be
they're walking. Now, the only caveat to this marathon, right, is that you are followed by 2 men with 2 camels. Okay, if the camels beat you in.
Oh, I saw this. There is actually a documentary on Netflix about a female and saw the camels bit.
Yeah.
The camels catch you.
If the camels beat you, you're out. You're out.
Wonder what we can send after you in November on your 100k.
Yeah.
So
just while we are live as well. I'm just looking at your GoFundMe page now, and I can tell you it is incredibly easy to donate because they accept Apple Pay, they accept Google Pay, and it has literally just taken me roughly 35 seconds, all right, to throw a donation down there. So if you haven't done one, get it done. And you're not only, it's not just about raising money for Walking for the Wounded, and for you to do the trip, but what is it going to mean to you to actually get out there and get that done?
It's about again, it's about my mental health, and I suppose the easiest way to do it is, as serving soldiers, we always like to push ourselves, or we're forced to push ourselves to our limits in our extremes. Now, we all know that as you get older, your brain thinks that you're still 21-year-old, but your body doesn't. So it's about basically what I'm doing it for. In a nutshell, is I am doing it to punish myself for all the bullshit that I have put people through over the years with my issues that I couldn't control at the time. And I'm not very good at opening up and talking to people, my wife in particular, who we've been together for 28 years. How? I don't know, because what I've put her through, if it had been the other way around, I would have been gone a long time ago. But she is the most caring, loving person I've ever had the privilege to meet. And she's never judged me She supported me 100% in everything that I do.
And Stacey, she ain't going to want you to punish yourself, right? Just hold that thought for 1 second. Mick, how long have we got?
We've got as long as it takes. I'm still trying to get
Right.
James on, so we can go for forever.
I hate hearing you say, I'm doing it to punish myself for everything that I've put everyone through, right? You are an absolute legend. There is no punishment. You are a human and you are a product of everything that has gone before, right? When we are born, left and right of arc, right? We see the world, clean slate. There's all this good stuff and there's all this bad stuff and there's all this stuff in between, right? Depending on what we go through in life, from childhood through adolescence into adulthood, if we are lucky enough to experience lots and lots and lots of good, which side did I say was good? I can't remember. We'll call it this side, right? If we're lucky enough to experience lots and lots and lots of good, and what we start to do is we start to lose sight of the bad in the world, and we expect the world to be quite good. So we expect it over here, right?
Yeah.
Charmed life. Our autonomic nervous system exists largely in rest and digest, and we're quite chilled, right? If we maybe have some adverse childhood experience, maybe we join the military and we go to combat, maybe we have some other issues, then we start to experience more of the bad. We lose sight of the good, and we expect the world to be bad. We expect bad things. We are triggered by stuff. But you know what? It's not in here, like Mick said earlier, in the brain. It's not in the brain. It's in our bodies. We have to recognise that we're a product of our experience.
Yeah.
And what you've been through and what you think you've done to others, it's not as bad as you think it is, because you know what? You've just told me you've got 28 years with a wonderful lady and she's the best thing that ever happened to you. Well, guess what? She's still with you.
I know.
So you've got to be a pretty awesome human being. But the other thing is, you don't need to punish yourself.
Yeah, it's
nothing to punish and nothing to punish for. You need to be kind to yourself, because you've come through, and me and Mick have told you tonight how amazing it is that we've got to grow a friendship with you. We've got to meet you. What a legend you are after everything you've been through. You've still got your sense of humour. You're here doing this with us now. Not to punish, babe. Get that out your head. Just do it, and do it for whatever reason you want to do it, but don't do it for that reason.
That's the other reason. It's because, like you said, because I missed out on doing so much. I've got to do this. I've got to at least start it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because if I don't, I'll regret it for the rest of my life.
You just do what you can do, and if you don't do it, it doesn't matter. You just get out there. Moment by moment.
It'll be done. It'll be done. It's yeah, and believe me, I'm not saying it lightly. I am terrified of doing this. I am absolutely bricking it.
I bet you are.
I think if I went in with a cocksure attitude, then I wouldn't pass it.
No, you've got to go in with reality, haven't you?
Mate, you are absolutely gonna smash it. From just what I've seen of you, your drive, your passion, the way you support others, you are going to be an absolute credit to that team with Walking for the Wounded.
Thank you, mate.
And we've got to get you there. So if you are, you know what, if you're watching this on YouTube, you're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts where this is available, right? Help the man out, right? If you know of local businesses that might want to sponsor Stumpy with some kit, get their name on his t-shirt while he's walking through, get it out there, because a lot of people do get sponsored funding for things like this. So let's help him out. Now, unfortunately,
Mick, I'm going to have to go. Sorry.
Yeah, that's all right.
Okay.
Yeah. We've just sort of peaked our sort of hour for an episode, and I think, if I'm honest, I could sit here and speak to you all night, and we could probably get 2 or 3 episodes out of you, if I'm perfectly honest, because you've had hell of a life and you're just hell of a person.
We'll keep them until after I've finished.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to get you on in November. But if you have been listening, it's been awesome. Stumpy, thank you very much for coming on and telling that story. It's not easy. We spoke earlier about, I gave a speech today, and part of it I choked up a little bit. It doesn't matter how many times we tell the story, it's never easy.
No.
But it does help. And I think if you can inspire just one more person in the world, and they can tell your story to inspire somebody else, we are going to make the world a better place. So thank you very much for coming on to do this tonight.
Thank you for having me. It's been great to see you guys again.
Yeah, it has been bloody awesome. So thank you for listening, guys, and good night.
Good night, all.